Hey, how you doing? This is RJ. Today I'm going to talk about why comicsgate is a hate group. Now, hopefully you can stick with me to the end of this video because I think this is an extremely important video to understand what's going on here. It's extremely important both for comicsgate and for the people on the other side, your SJWs. And the thing is that in order to explain this, I'm going to have to go down a couple of rabbit holes. So I'm not going to be able to stick to my normal 10 to 15 minute format. I don't think I'm probably going to go over that, and it's going to be a longer video, but hopefully you can stick with me to the end because I think this is a really supremely important thing. Now, I think it is supremely important for a number of reasons. Number one is because I always play off of the ideas of other people. That's usually where most of my video ideas come from. And Richard Meyer has said something that I don't really agree with, and I think that may be a little bit dangerous. And it's the fact that he's saying that he could sit down for 2 hours and explain to an SJW from panel to panel in the book why this book doesn't work, what's wrong with it, and the SJW, the creator at Marvel, say, would just look at him at the end of the 2 hours and say, so what you're saying is that you hate women. And so what Richard's takeaway from this is that, number one, the SJWs, they don't want to have a conversation and that they are not being genuine. And basically, I think that shuts down any kind of conversation. Now, whether or not we should shut down conversation with these people, I think that's an entirely separate thing, an entirely separate video. I'm not going to go into that today. But what he is saying, I think, is a little bit dangerous because I don't think it's completely right. And if you only have half the answer, that's sometimes more dangerous than having no answer at all. So the thing is that when he says that these people, they don't want to have a conversation. No, I agree that they don't want to have a conversation. I completely agree with that point. But the other half, where he's saying that they're not being genuine, I think he's 100% wrong about that fact. I think they are being completely genuine. I think that when they look at you and say, so you hate women, they are being completely genuine. When they hear you explaining all of these things about why this comic is bad, what they are hearing in their mind is, I hate you, I hate women, I hate people of color, etc., etc. That's literally what they hear. So in order to understand why they actually hear that, we need to go down, again, a couple of rabbit holes. And I would say that this is supremely important because we are the ones that can do this. They, on the other side, they're completely focused on emotion. Everything is about emotion, right? They're not going to actually listen to an argument. So they're not going to do this on the other side. But we can do this on our side because we can take an argument, an irrational argument, which I'm going to present, and say that, okay, I understand now where these people are coming from. No, I don't agree with them, but at least I understand it. And at the very least, that will not shut down all discussion. Okay, so, and I think that's necessary. So the point is, again, that the reason why these people believe this is because of identity politics, and why they truly believe that comicsgate is a hate group, that when they listen to our videos, they truly hear you saying, or me saying, I hate women, I hate people of color, I hate you. They truly hear that is because of identity politics. Of course, because they're far leftists, they believe in identity politics. Now, I've gone over this in a couple of times in my video, so I'll only go over it really short here, but identity politics is this idea that socialists and communists came up with a little while ago, and it's basically meant to sow hatred and division among people. That's really what it's supposed to do. It's supposed to separate people into these little blocks of identity so that they look at the other block that's next to them as something that's hostile to them, and therefore they hate that other block, which then erupts into violence. And this is what it's meant to do. And the reason, of course, it's meant to do this is because they're socialists and communists. And again, I've gone through this in a couple of my videos, but the reason why they want this is because socialists and communists, the very core of their entire ideology is that it is inevitable, 100% inevitable, that a socialist communist utopia will be coming here on the earth. There is no question about it in their minds. It will be. It is the end of man. That's what's going to happen. So the thing is that the whole reason why socialism and communism are an ideology itself, why they're here, is because they said to themselves, okay, this is inevitably going to happen, but let's not wait for it to happen. Let's bring it about. So they want to bring it about. And that's why they think of themselves as progressives and call themselves progressives, because they think that this end point of mankind, which is the socialist communist utopia, is what we are progressing to. And they are advancing this progression by promoting socialist and communist ideologies and things like identity politics. So the point is that the old system, that we'll just boil it down to capitalism, the old system system will not go silently into the night. Again, part of their ideology is that it will not go silently into the night. Capitalism must be destroyed. It will try to hang on for all it's worth, and it must be overthrown in order to bring about this socialist and communist utopia. And not only must it be overthrown, but it must be completely obliterated so that there is not even any memory of it on the earth. It will not even be remembered. It must be completely obliterated in order for this socialist communist utopia to take the hold that it's supposed to take. So, of course, in order to completely obliterate and destroy it, well, destruction is violent. In order to get this violent end of capitalism, they must promote violence and hatred to some degree, because, of course, that's how you destroy something. So they take these ideas like identity politics, they put them into practice so that they make people hate each other, so that it erupts into violence, so that they can take this violence and direct it towards capitalism, and hopefully it will, in their minds anyways, destroy capitalism from within. So that's what they're trying to do. So identity politics is an integral part of this. But the point of identity politics is that these people on the left, of course, they completely believe it. Whether or not they actually know where it come from or how it works, probably not. But they still have it stuck in the back of their head. Now, the thing is that the way that people, socialists and communists, think is completely different from the entire history of Western civilization, all right? For at least the last couple of thousand years. The way that people have thought and the way of all of our laws are set up and everything else, and all of our civilization, is that it's based on this idea that people have a human nature. It was always based on this idea that people have a human nature. And it's very important because this is a principle, this is an overarching truth that we have built down from in order to create all of our civilization. And it's important because, and it's expressed in many different ways, but one of the ways that we're concerned with here is the fact that since you have a human nature, I can look at you and what you're doing, and I can say to you, okay, what you're doing, I hate it, but I still don't hate you. I can say to you, what you are saying, I hate what you are saying, but I don't hate you. I can say, I hate your thoughts, but I don't hate you. I can say, I hate your choices, but I don't hate you. Okay? Now that all stems from the idea that you have a human nature, of course, because the thing is that traditionally when you say that to someone, it's not actually hating the person, it's actually loving the person. It's actually supposed to be for love of the other person, because the actual definition of love, it's not just a feeling. If you go back to the traditional definition of love, it's willing the good of the other, because love is supposed to be part of the will, right? So you're willing the good of the other when you love them. So the point is that when you say to them, I hate what you are doing, I hate what you are choosing to do, it's actually out of love, because of course, since they are doing something which you see as being not in accord with reality, reality is going to smack them in the face and they're going to get hurt, and you don't want them to get hurt, and therefore you're saying, I hate this thing that you're doing, so hopefully you'll stop doing it so you won't get hurt, because I love you, because I will your good. I want goodness for you. Okay, so that's the way it's supposed to go. That's the way it's gone in most of our history of Western civilization. Okay, so you can say, I hate what you are saying, I hate how you are feeling, I hate your thoughts, I hate what you have chosen to do, but I don't actually hate you. I actually am trying to will your good by hating these things. All right, so that all stems from an idea of having a human nature. But the socialist communists, your far, far leftists, of course, they believe that there is zero human nature. All right. They believe that there is no human nature at all. They believe that all of society is made up of institutions, of course, and all that you are made up of is simply nurture. All right. There is no nature in there at all. Now, this kind of gives them a two-edged sword in order to attack with, because they can say that things like whiteness and being a man, they're not actually part of your nature, because there is no such thing as human nature. They're just institutions, and therefore they are the bad institutions, and we can attack those, and they go through the violent cycle that they usually go through. But at the same time, they say to themselves, since I don't have a human nature, no individual does in their ideology, then they're saying that, well, what am I made up of? Well, I am made up of my thoughts. I am made up of my feelings. I am made up of my choices. I am made up of what I am doing. And so since I am made up of all of these things, this is who I am, and this is all that I am. Since if you don't have human nature, and their ideology you don't, then that's all you are. And when you have a story, when you have either a written or a drawn story, like we have in comic books, of course, when you have a story, well, the writer, the way that you write is you write what you know, of course. So basically what they are doing, and I've gone over this again in a couple of my videos, what that they are doing when they write a story, when they draw a story, is that they are seeing, and they're seeing it as, I am taking my thoughts and my feelings and all of my experience and I'm pouring them down onto a piece of paper, of course. And so these things are my thoughts and feelings. I am putting them onto a piece of paper. So when someone from Comicsgate takes this book and they go through it panel by panel and saying, this panel doesn't match with that panel, this is sloppy drawing, this is sloppy storytelling because this character used to have this kind of personality and no longer does, he's contradicting himself from page 2, and you go through all of these things, you're actually criticizing the book, right? That's what you think that you're doing on the Comicsgate side. You're saying, I'm criticizing this book. And what they are hearing is, you are criticizing their thoughts and ideas, because down on this page is their thoughts and ideas and feelings. So what you are doing is you are criticizing their thoughts and ideas and feelings. You are saying, I hate those thoughts, I hate those ideas, I hate those feelings. This is a garbage comic book. This is a garbage idea, and you are putting these garbage ideas down on this page. But of course, since they think that all of their ideas, all that they are made up of is their thoughts and feelings and ideas, and their thoughts and feelings and ideas have been poured down on this page, and you are saying you hate this page, you are therefore saying in their minds that you hate their thoughts and feelings and ideas, you hate all that makes up them, therefore you hate them, and by extension, because of identity politics, of course, you hate their identity group as well. You are hating women or people of color or any other identity group that they identify with. So quite literally, all we are doing is criticizing a piece of, well, I'll call it art. We're criticizing a piece of art. We're criticizing a comic book. All that we see on the Comicsgate side is that we are criticizing their book. What they literally see from their perspective is that you are saying you hate them, and you hate their identity, and you hate everyone connected with their identity because you are criticizing them. This is what they literally see. So again, when Richard says that they're not being genuine, they're being 100% genuine. This is literally what they see through their ideology. This is all that they can see. They think that you are saying with your criticism, you hate them. You hate their identity. You hate their identity group. That is what is going on. All right. And so this explains, again, to bring it back to comic books, this explains why these comic companies are in such dire straits and what is going on with them, of course, because SJWs took over from inside. And again, I went over this in another one of my videos, but they took over from inside first. And so they made sure that the people producing the books and the people working on the books and everybody that had anything to do with the creative process had this same toxic leftist ideology implanted in their minds. And when you have that, then you can't have criticism, of course, because, and what is an editor? An editor is someone you pay to criticize your work. It is someone you pay to criticize you and your work, to set it down in front of them and say, look, this is no good, redo this. Okay, this is garbage, you're going to have to redo this. Now, the thing is that these editors couldn't do that job anymore because everybody's a far leftist in the company, and therefore if the editors did this, they would be accused of being a hater, they would be accused of being a bigot, they would be accused of being a racist, everything else, and they would lose their job, and they would be kicked out of the industry, and they would lose their livelihood and everything else. So the editors could no longer do that. That's why these comics all read like a first draft. That's why they look like they've been drawn by 4-year-olds, of course, because no one can edit them them in the way that editing is actually supposed to work. Traditionally editing, to criticize their work, you can't actually do that anymore. The editors can't actually do that anymore. They just can make sure that everybody gets their work passed in on time. They're basically like a teacher, right? Just, oh, we need this in on time, but they can't actually criticize the work because then they'll be called a bigot or a whatever a phobe, right? They can't do that. So the point is, because they can't do that, we have garbage coming out into the system of comic books. We got garbage comic books coming out all over the place. And that's why comicsgate is here, of course, because since the editors aren't doing what they're supposed to do, and we have garbage comic books out there, all of us out here as consumers are saying, well, I am going to criticize this because it is garbage. I'm going to tell you that it is garbage, and that's why we're here. That's why comicsgate is here. We are here to criticize. I would say that's the main function of why we are here, because the editors have failed to do their job, and therefore we have been left to edit these people and to criticize them. And since they see any criticism as being a hateful statement, therefore they think that we are a hate group. And this is basically their mindset of who we are and where we come from. And of course, we are not going to stop criticizing them because we want a better product. When we say things like, we just want a better product, when we say things like, we want the comic book industry to be healthy, and therefore we want it to go back to the way it was, we need a healthy product, and in order to do that, you need to have better stories, you need to have better art, you need to have things connected together better, all they're hearing is you saying, I hate you, creator, whoever you are, I hate your identity group. That's what they're hearing. That's because of their leftist ideology bent. That's all that they hear. Now, understanding this is the key. Understanding all of this is the key, because that's what we are doing at comicsgate. Primarily, we are criticizing. And the thing is that, the really funny thing is that we are using platforms like Twitter and YouTube, of course, to actually put out these criticisms. The funny thing is that most of these platforms were set up by far leftists in order to promote far leftist ideologies, and we're using them to criticize, and criticism is being seen by far leftists always as a hateful right-wing thing to do. And therefore, that's what they see when they look at our videos or see our tweets or whatever else in social media or on any kind of video. And the thing is, again, that's why it's a little bit funny, because we are using their media, which is supposed to be promoting in their minds leftist ideology, to promote what we are doing and trying to make things better, which they think is a hateful thing. But we need to make sure that we never lose that, and never lose that understanding of we are here to criticize. And that is extremely important, because again, it's extremely important because you can't get bogged down in what the left is saying, on what the far leftists, the SJW people are saying, because you have these people like Joe Quesada saying things like, oh, look, comics were always political. They always had a message, of course, and they always had this and that in them. Okay, that is a red herring. Don't bother actually arguing those points, because they're not the actual point of why we're arguing. That's not the actual point we're trying to get across. The actual point that we are trying to get across can be driven home and can be shown, proven 100% that we are in the right by doing the following. Of course, by saying that, okay, let's look at comic books, let's look at when they were actually selling well, let's look at when we say that they actually had good stories, let's look at when the industry was healthy. When you look at that, what do you see in the background? You see the editor in the background. Always you see the editor in the background. And we can prove that they were always editors in the background. And those editors criticized people. And those editors would say to their artists and their storytellers all the time, they would say, this is garbage, redo it. This is so much garbage that we are going to put out an extra issue of a story that we have sitting in the drawer because you need to redo the entire thing. These editors always were there to criticize. These editors were always there to take the work and to just bash it into something better. Okay, they were to smash this thing and make sure that it only came out in a good form. It's like refining a metal or, gold or something like that. It had to go through this intense process, this crucible of criticism. It had to, in order to make a good product, and it made a good industry. And that can be proven. We can 100% prove that that's the way the industry used to work, that criticism was a fundamental part of a healthy industry. And if we can prove that, and we can, that criticism was part of a healthy industry, then we can say that all we are doing is trying to provide criticism in order to make this industry healthy. And that's the key. That's the key to this entire thing, I would say. This entire thing that's going on with, comicsgate versus your SJW Marvel. They have no leg to stand on if we get to that point. If we can just show that, yes, We need editing, we need criticism. We need editing, and editing just is criticism, and all we're doing is offering our own criticism. So what we are doing is criticizing in order to make better. And that is actually the way that the industry is supposed to work. And you are not working in that vein. If we can get that into people's minds, then we can show that, yes, this is what we are doing and this is what we want. No, it's not a hateful thing. No, criticism is not a hateful thing. It's the way the industry has always worked. That's how it's supposed to work. And therefore, we just want to make a healthy industry by allowing criticism, by allowing people to be criticized without being called a bigot or a racist or anything else. And again, I would say that 100%. We can show that this is the way that things used to be, this is the way that stories were pounded into shape, and that this is all that we are trying to do here. And that is what needs to be done. That is the argument that needs to be made. That is, when you speak to these people, the core of what needs to be said. Don't get bogged down in all of these things about, well, comics were always political. Well, we're always putting messages into comic books. Well, this, well, that. People like Joe Quesada and the other people who run Marvel are always trying to put out there. Those things are just to throw you off the scent of what actually is going on here. And what actually is going on here is identity politics run amok, to the point where you cannot criticize someone unless they, and if you do, you cannot criticize someone, and if you do criticize them, it is seen as a hateful statement, and you are seen as a bigot and a racist, instead of actually being seen as someone who is trying to make things better. All right. I actually have it under, well, close to 20 minutes anyways. Hopefully I've given you something new to think about. Again, I think this is extremely important thing that we think about these things, and actually extremely important because the other side is not going to, I don't think about these things. And to understand why these people actually believe that comicsgate is a hate group, that when you say things that criticize a comic book, all that they hear is hatred out of your mouth. And it's extremely important to understand why they think this way in order to try to get back a healthy industry. All right, like I said, hopefully I gave you something new to think about. If I did, hit like, hit subscribe, leave me a message, tell me what you think about my idea, and give me something new to think about. All right, I'll see you later. Bye.